The most famous face in all of human history belonged to a boy who should never have been born. Tutankhamun, the Golden Pharaoh, the teenage king whose treasure-filled tomb made him immortal. We put his death mask on posters and t-shirts and museum banners. It's one of the most beautiful objects ever made by human hands. But peel away the gold and look at the body underneath it, and you find something tragic. Tutankhamun had a clubbed foot. He had a curved spine, a cleft palate, bone disease, and was so frail he needed a cane to walk, and over 130 canes were buried with him. He probably died around age 19, sick and broken. And the reason, scientists now believe, is written in his DNA. Because Tutankhamun's mother and father weren't just married, they were brother and sister. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a scandal. It was royal policy. For thousands of years, the most powerful family on Earth deliberately married brother to sister, father to daughter, generation after generation, on purpose. And here's the truly strange part. Ordinary Egyptians did not do this. For everyday people, marrying your sibling was as taboo as it is to us. It was the royals, and almost only the royals, who did it. So why? Why would the rulers of the greatest civilization of the ancient world do something they knew, on some level, was destroying their own children? The answer is a mix of religion, power, and a very human kind of trap. And it ends with one of history's most disturbing experiments in what happens when a family refuses to let new blood in. To understand it, you have to stop thinking of the pharaoh as a king. Because to the Egyptians, the pharaoh was not a man. He was a god. This is the first and most important key. The pharaoh wasn't merely a powerful ruler who claimed the god's favor. He was believed to be divine himself, a living god walking the earth, the bridge between humanity and the heavens. His blood was sacred. It was, literally, the blood of gods. And if you believe that, a terrible logic follows. A god cannot marry an ordinary mortal. That would pollute the divine bloodline, mixing the sacred with the common. So who is a god supposed to marry? Another god. And where do you find another being with god blood in their veins? Inside your own family. The royal family had convinced itself that its blood was a unique, holy substance, and that the only way to keep it pure and undiluted was to keep it inside the family. Marry your sister, and your children are doubly divine. Marry an outsider, and you've watered down heaven itself. In their minds, they weren't committing a crime against nature. They were protecting the most precious thing in the world, and they had perfect role models for it. The gods themselves. Egyptian mythology didn't just permit sibling marriage, it was built on it. The most important story in the entire religion was the myth of Osiris and Isis. Osiris, the great king god, married his own sister, Isis. When Osiris was murdered and chopped apart by his jealous brother Set, it was Isis, his sister and his wife, who gathered the pieces, used her magic to bring him back, and conceived their son, Horus. And Horus, in Egyptian belief, was the god that every living pharaoh embodied. So the founding love story of Egyptian religion was a brother and a sister. The divine family was an incestuous one, and the pharaohs saw themselves as the earthly mirror of that divine family. When a pharaoh married his sister, he wasn't being deviant. He was imitating the gods, reenacting the sacred marriage of Isis and Osiris on Earth. He was Osiris. His sister wife was Isis. Their union was holy theater, proof that the royal family was the gods made flesh. But religion was only half of it, because there was a second reason, and it was far colder and more practical. Power. Think about what a throne is. It's the single most valuable thing in the kingdom, and everyone wants it. The biggest threat to any royal family isn't a foreign army. It's a rival noble family marrying into the bloodline, gaining a claim, and eventually pushing you out. Marriage was the main way ambitious outsiders climbed toward the throne. Sibling marriage slammed that door shut. If the pharaoh married his own sister, no outside family could marry in and gain a claim to the crown. No powerful father-in-law could start scheming to put his own grandson on the throne. The power, the wealth, the divine status, all of it stayed sealed inside one family, passed from one generation to the next, with no outsiders allowed near it. It was the ultimate way to keep the crown in the bloodline and keep everyone else out. There was even a question of inheritance. In Egypt, royal legitimacy was strongly tied to the female line. The great royal wife carried enormous symbolic weight, sometimes seen as the one who passed the right to rule. By marrying his sister, a pharaoh could absorb that royal female legitimacy directly, doubling his own claim to be the rightful king. Two royal bloodlines, mothers and fathers, fused into one unquestionable heir. So you had a perfect storm of motives. Religion said it kept the blood divine. Mythology said the gods themselves did it. And politics said it locked rivals out and secured the throne. From the inside, sibling marriage didn't look like madness. It looked like the smartest, holiest, safest thing a ruler could possibly do. And so they did it. Again and again and again for thousands of years. Some of the most famous names in Egyptian history were the products or the practitioners of it. By the time of the very last dynasty, the Ptolemies, the Greek family that ended with Cleopatra, sibling marriage had become almost routine. Cleopatra herself came from a family tree so tangled with brother-sister and uncle-niece marriages that it barely functions as a tree at all. She was married, at different times, to two of her own younger brothers. But nature does not care about theology. Nature does not care about politics. And nature kept a ledger. Here is the biology they couldn't have understood. Every person carries hidden genetic flaws, recessive mutations, that usually stay silent because you'd need two copies, one from each parent, for them to cause harm. When two unrelated people have a child, the odds of both carrying the same rare flaw are low. But when two siblings have a child, they share so much of the same DNA and the same hidden flaws that the odds of doubling up skyrocket. Disease after disease that should have stayed hidden comes roaring to the surface. Do it once, and you might get lucky. Do it for generation after generation, narrowing the bloodline tighter and tighter, and you are running a machine that manufactures genetic disaster. Birth defects, frailty, infertility, early death. Children born weaker than the peasants their family ruled over. And this is exactly what modern science found when it finally examined the royal mummies. A landmark DNA study of Tutankhamun's family confirmed the nightmare. His parents were full siblings. The boy king's catalog of ailments, the deformed foot, the bone disorders, the fragile body, line up with the price of that inbreeding. Some researchers even suspect that the strange, almost otherworldly ways certain pharaohs had themselves depicted in art, elongated skulls, wide hips, swollen bellies, soft, feminine bodies, may reflect real physical conditions running through an increasingly damaged bloodline. The royal family had spent thousands of years believing their blood was divine, magical, superior to everyone else's. And the truth, written in their bones, was the opposite. Their blood was sick. The very thing they were so desperate to keep pure was the thing that was poisoning them. They guarded their bloodline like a treasure, and it was quietly killing their children in the cradle. There's a dark irony at the center of all this. The pharaohs married their sisters to stay like gods, immortal, perfect, set apart from ordinary humans. And it made them the most fragile, defect-ridden, medically cursed family in the entire kingdom. The peasant in the field, marrying a stranger from the next village, was handing his children a healthier future than the God King handed his. So pull it all the way back and look at what this story really is. It's about a family that gained absolute power and then built a cage around it. Every wall they raised to keep outsiders out, to keep the blood pure, to keep the crown sacred, became a wall around themselves. They couldn't marry out. They couldn't let new blood in. They were trapped by the very thing that made them gods. And the longer they protected the bloodline, the more it decayed. We look at it now and call it bizarre, even monstrous. But strip away the specifics, and the impulse underneath is weirdly familiar. Powerful families, all through history and right up to today, have always tried to keep wealth and power locked inside the family, marrying within their class, guarding their name, terrified of outsiders diluting what they've built. The Egyptians just took that universal instinct, keep it in the family, to its most literal and most destructive extreme. They believed they were protecting something holy. They were really just afraid to let go. And the most powerful family the world had ever seen slowly, deliberately, lovingly bred itself into ruin, convinced, right up to the end, that they were doing the sacred thing. The golden mask still smiles at us from across 3,000 years. Beautiful, perfect, divine. And underneath it, a broken boy who paid the price for his family's belief that their blood was too precious to share.